Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun video we're going to be unboxing, testing, and reviewing a brand new laser engraver from the Acmer company. Some people call it Acmer, I call it Acmer, that's what I'll call it going forward. If you guys remember, a few months ago we looked at the brand new Acmer mini laser with their little desktop machine here. They sent this to me and I'm thankful that they trust me with doing the reviews for these laser engravers. This one here is a really nice compact 6-watt one. It came pretty much fully assembled if you guys remember the video. The only thing we had to do was connect the laser module to the gantry arm, hook power to it, and we were ready to rock and roll. And this little mini laser here is great for portability options. You can take it to fall festivals, farmers markets, craft fairs, and quickly set it up and do quick demos with. So a very cool and versatile tool capable of a lot of creative designs. And this is a little 6-watt laser. The one that arrived on the doorstep the other day is a 7-watt diode laser, so keep that in mind. I know the wattage of lasers is very popular among discussions when it comes to laser engravers, and the higher or lower the wattage is going to depict what kind of creative designs you can do. But you can do a lot with a 7-watt laser, and hopefully I will inspire you guys with some of the tests we will do in today's video. Again, it arrived packaged nicely on the doorstep. There you see a photo of what it will look like fully assembled, and this is the brand new, as I said, Acmer S2 7-watt laser engraver, packaged nice in this box. And this is a bigger style laser, so there is going to be some assembly. I've got the card table out here in the workshop, and I'm very excited to get this laser unboxed and assembled. So let's move the camera and do that now. Get it assembled so we can do some laser cut test. And over here on the card table, I'm going to take my Swiss Army knife to cut open the box the Acmer laser was shipped in. And as you can see here, everything was packaged very carefully. Couldn't nothing move or shake around or be damaged during the shipping process. But I'll get out all of the parts and pieces and get a count for them. And I'll start looking at the instruction manual, and I'll get all of the plastic off of all of the pieces so we can begin the assembly process. And I do want to talk about how well written and straightforward the instruction manual is. All of the little baggies with the parts were labeled by which step, as opposed to being in one big parts bag. So that was really cool and really helped with the assembly process. Here I am assembling the gantry arm. That was the first step, and then we will start building the frame that the gantry arm will ride on. And I have already assembled a few laser engravers over here on the channel, so I am very familiar with the process. But do keep in mind there is some small bolts and screws that can be a little bit tedious to hold in the hand. But as always, I took my time and followed the instructions to the letter and put everything together and assembled everything as was intended. And keep in mind, this laser here does not come with air assist, so when we get to the testing part, I will only be using it as intended without the air assist. Here I am getting the frame assembled, and the most tedious part here was getting the belts to go through the pulleys and the stepper motor here. Just took a little bit of finessing to get it through, but we got them through and got them properly tensioned. Of course, we will do a laser belt tension test when we get to the testing part of the video. But for assembly, this laser went together in around 30 minutes. Again, that time may vary for you, but again, I want to speak for how well written the instruction manual was. Very easy to follow and very well written. Here we are putting on the laser module itself, and then we will connect all of the wires, and then I will give you guys an overview of the laser itself before moving it to a more stable work surface for it to do some laser test on. And here is the fully assembled 7-watt Acmer diode laser engraver. It went together very smoothly. The instructions that's included in the box are very well written, very straightforward, and everything is clearly labeled with all of the packages on which step you are in on the instruction manual during the assembly process. Keep in mind there is some small and tedious screws to keep up with during the assembly process, and the most tedious part for me was threading the belts that drive the motors through the pulleys and everything. That was the most tedious part for me. But all in all, it took me around 30 to 35 minutes to fully assemble this little laser, so it doesn't take long at all. What I'm going to do now is move it off of the card table because the card table is a little wobbly. I do want to put it on a flat work surface. That is very key for laser engraving. And then we're going to get the power hooked up. I'm going to connect it to the Lightburn software on the laptop. Keep in mind, for all the laser cut tests and engraving tests we are about to do, I will be using the Lightburn software. But what I'm going to do now is get it moved to the countertop, get the power to it, get the laptop hooked up, put on my safety goggles, turn on the air filtration unit, and we'll get some laser cut test done on the new Acmer 7-watt diode laser engraver. And after getting the laser moved over to the countertop and getting the Lightburn software connected to it, we're going to begin with a basic laser engraving test. And I am engraving on the thin piece of material that was packed in with the laser engraver itself. I believe this is the popular basswood material that's used with laser engravers, but I'm simply engraving the Acmer name and their logo. Of course, the footage is sped up here for time-lapse purposes, but I'll talk a little bit about each of the tests we do here a little bit more in depth as we get ready to close the video. But it engraved the logo nice and crisp, and now I'm going to use the same material and do a laser cut test. This is a file I quickly designed in the Lightburn software, and it's going to test the laser cutting capabilities of the 7-watt laser. It's doing all of the engraving now, and then it will go back and do the actual laser cutting. Again, I'll talk a little bit more in depth about each of these tests we are doing once we move the camera for the final time to close the video. But overall, all of the tests we've done here took about 8 to 10 minutes to do for reference. But now we have our laser cut test, and our final test on this piece of packed in material will be a laser belt alignment test to make sure that the belts are properly tensioned along the stepper motors and pulleys. And my buddy Sam at Knighthood Creations designed this file, and he passed it along to me, and I thank him so much for it because it's a test I run periodically to make sure the belts are properly tensioned on all of the lasers. But I went on and cut it out as well. I do like the color scheme of this laser. It's a nice orange and black color scheme, so it's very fall vibed and Halloween vibed as well. And speaking of Halloween, that will be the next test we try with a piece of scrap poster board. I found a nice pumpkin carving stencil online, and we are going to laser cut it out of poster board. And I feel like this laser would really excel with doing this and making stencils for pumpkin carving during the Halloween season, as well as stencils for airbrush or spray paint purposes out of poster board or thin cardboard. But now we will do an item that's always popular to make with laser engravers, and that will be a slate drink coaster. You've seen me framing out the slate coaster a few times trying to get it centered as best as possible. And I am once again laser engraving on the slate drink coaster the Acmer name and logo. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. But after this test was done, I wanted to do one final test just to see if the laser would cut through 1/4 inch material that I like to use. So I have a piece of it loaded onto this small honeycomb spoil board, and I am attempting to laser cut a phone stand with the Acmer name and logo on it. But please keep in mind, this is a small 7-watt laser, and even with multiple passes, the laser did not want to laser cut through this material. It would have if I had air assist on it, but again, as I said at the beginning, I want to test this laser in this video exactly how it came right out of the box from Acmer. So I was not using air assist here. And you can see it didn't laser cut through. But before we move the camera, I wanted to show you guys a size comparison of the smaller 6-watt laser Acmer sent me first and the new 7-watt laser we reviewed in today's video. And that, my friends, is going to about wrap up our review for the Acmer 7-watt laser engraver. In today's video, we unboxed, assembled, and tested it several times to get a good idea and general idea of what that laser is capable of. And I want to thank Acmer once again for trusting me. This is the second time we've looked at an Acmer laser over here on the platform. The first time we looked at the mini desktop laser engraver. This is a 6-watt laser, and it offers great portability to take to craft fairs, fall festivals, vendor markets, or just take on the go and engrave while you are out and about. So a really cool and versatile laser here in this little stand here to where it does not move or shake around while it is working. So thank you guys again for sending me this one originally to test out. But in today's video, we put the machine together and then we've done 5 tests, and I'm going to show you guys all 5 of those tests and talk about them a little bit over here on the camera as we close the video. But I want to talk about how well written the instruction manual is. It is very straightforward, very legible. Everything is clearly labeled. All of the baggies are clearly labeled with each step, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and which screws and bolts go in each one, as opposed to having them all dumped in one big bag. So that was very cool, and it made the assembly process that much more quicker because there was not a lot of guesswork. And I got that laser out of the box and ready to go in around 35 to 40 minutes, so they're very easy to put together. There is some small screws you do have to keep up with, and threading the belts that drive the motors through the pulleys, that can be a little bit tedious, but all in all, very simple and straightforward to put together. But this is the Acmer S2 7-watt diode laser engraver, and again, the instruction manual is phenomenal and very well written. And one other thing to keep in mind, anytime you change the height on the material you are using, depending on its thickness and depth, you are going to have to change the height of the laser head with this little billet. It is included with the laser. It is this small little, I think it's an aluminum cylinder here, and if you lose this here, it's going to be very hard to dial in your laser engraver, so make sure to keep track of it on the little red shield to protect your eyes. And we're going to talk about safety on the laser here in a second, but there's a little lip on that red shield that you drop it down to on this here. You put your material on the bed, you put this down and drop the laser onto the top of the billet, and then you tighten the screw down to dial in your zero clearance for laser engraving or laser cutting, whatever the case may be. And anytime the laser was running today out in the workshop, I had the air filtration unit running, I had the door open, and I had fans blowing on the laser itself, pushing all of the dust and the fumes out of the shop door. Of course, they're supposed to be in an enclosure, but for today's purposes, I wanted to test it as it came right out of the box for you guys. And anytime it was running, I had on my safety eye protection UV goggles as well. So always be aware of that. Protect your lungs, protect your eyes, and if you're going to be doing a lot of laser engraving, just make sure that you get a proper enclosure and take the best care of yourself possible out in your garage or workshop. But as I said, we did 5 tests, and we're going to quickly talk about them here as we get ready to close the video. The first one I did was on a piece of material that was included in the laser. There was 2 pieces of this thin basswood included with the laser for you to get right into laser engraving right out of the box. And you see it's very thin, very flexible. It's not even an 1/8 inch thick, but I went and got the Acmer logo and I engraved it, and it had some nice depth in it. I can actually feel the logo in the material here. I don't know if that comes across on camera, but it took around 8 minutes for the laser to engrave this, and I was very pleased with it. So then I wanted to do a laser cut test to see what the 7-watt laser was capable of. So I loaded the laser cut test file I designed in the Lightburn software, and Lightburn is what I use for all of the tests. It's the software that I am most familiar with. If you're going to be doing a lot of laser engraving, I highly recommend that software. It is a paid software. You do get a free trial with it, but it is a paid software to get all of the features, and it is well worth the money, and it is a powerful software. But I did design this in the Lightburn software. You can see it says material test, 1P, 2P, 3P, speed 300, power 89%, and what P represents is passes. How many times the laser is going to go around in an attempt to laser cut completely through the material. Speed 300, that's the speed I like to use when laser cutting anything. That's a good balance of speed. It's not too slow to where stuff could ignite while it's being laser cut or laser engraved. Be aware of that. Some of that stuff can happen over at the laser. And it's not too fast to where it's going too quickly for the laser to properly work, if that makes any sense. And power at 89%. I have always read and been told that you do not want to run a diode laser wide open full blast at 100% all of the time. But you can see here that it did laser cut through the material right there on the third one. It wanted to on 2 passes, but it didn't cut completely through. You can see on the back side here, and you see that it wanted to cut through with 2 passes, but again it didn't. Again, this is a 7-watt laser and there's no air assist on it. Again, I tested it how the laser came right out of the box, and I know some lasers come with air assist. I know with some lasers that's an additional purchase you have to pick up, you know, separately than the laser itself, and I know sometimes they do come bundled together. This one I used exactly how it is right out of the box in today's video. But you can see there that, you know, if you chip it out, there is some little splinters there you'd have to touch up with a piece of sandpaper or an X-Acto knife. But I was very happy with that, to know that it could laser cut through this thin material. Again, it's not even 1/8 of an inch thick. Then I've done the laser belt alignment test, and people ask me where I get this test. My buddy Sam at Knighthood Creations designed this file to quickly check and make sure that the belts that you put on the laser are properly tensioned and not over tightened or too loosened. And the way you test that is run this file and make sure all of the shapes interconnect, all of the curves are perfect, and everything intersects properly. And indeed, everything did. I'm now getting more and more versed and familiar with laser engravers, and I can kind of tell by feel. That's something with experience you get. I can tell by feel if the laser belts are too tight or too loose or getting worn out. Again, that just comes with experience with using a laser. But there is the laser belt alignment test, and I thank my buddy Sam at Knighthood Creations for designing this file and then providing me with a copy of it to test with the lasers out here in the workshop. Then we've done 2 additional tests. We laser cut some poster board stencils. We've done a nice little jack-o'-lantern face. At the time of this video's recording, Halloween is right around the corner, so I felt it would be appropriate to do a pumpkin face here, and it's just a quick image I found online on an image search, and this is where I can see this little laser engraver excelling with. It could also, if you're a scroll saw artist like myself, that's what I'm primarily known for, the Monday scroll saw project videos, you could also laser etch patterns onto the material to take over to the scroll saw. But laser cutting poster board stencils I could see is very versatile, not only for Halloween, but also for different purposes, for seasonal events with airbrush, spray paint, and face painting stencils. So there's a lot of options there, and this is just thin poster board that's relatively inexpensive and readily available at dollar stores, liquidation stores, or most craft places. Got tongue-tied there. And I feel like it would be great for laser cutting a lot of stencils for art purposes for other people. And then we've done a slate drink coaster, and slate drink coasters are very popular. And keep in mind, with each of the materials, I was having to redial the laser in, the laser head. You guys seen me do it, I think, one time in the time-lapse portion while the laser was running. But here I've done the Acmer logo once again, and it took the laser around 8 to 10 minutes to engrave this, and it etched it perfectly. Slate drink coasters are very popular. They're quick sellers. People usually sell them in groups of 4, 6, or 8. They're relatively inexpensive. You can pick them up in bulk on sites like Amazon. I think you can also get them on sites like Etsy or other art supply sites or art stores. They do have the little rubber feet there. That way when you put them on a table, a glass, or a countertop, it does not want to shake around and spill your drink. But the image came out nice and crisp, and you can put any company logo, a band logo, your logo, you know, song lyrics, a quote, a Bible verse, anything on this that you want. The sky's the limit. So they are very versatile to make, and the laser made quick work of this. And then I wanted to test laser cutting 1/4 inch material. You guys know in a lot of the laser projects, the laser project calls for the thin 3mm craft plywood like the basswood we done most of the test on in today's video, but I like to bulk and enlarge the projects and cut them out of thicker, more robust 1/4 inch material. So I got a piece of it cut to the size of the little honeycomb spoil board that we used in today's video. Keep in mind that honeycomb spoil board I already had out here in the workshop. That was not included with the laser, but they, I feel, are a very essential accessory to have with laser engraving. But you can see here it did not want to laser cut through this. Keep in mind it is a 7-watt laser. I went with engraving and then laser cutting, and I bumped the power up all the way to 100% for this in three passes, you know, to where it would laser cut around through here, and it did not even come through the back side like it did with the thinner material here. Keep in mind that was a lower power setting. This was all the way up at 100%, but I did want to show you guys this just so you guys out there can get a general idea of what is capable on this very amazing and creative laser engraver that Acmer offers. But I still feel like it is a great value for laser engraving, especially if you want to get into laser engraving and you are curious about it, but you do not want to pay for a big, more robust laser to have out in your workshop, just in case you do not want to have, you know, that big expensive tool and then end up not liking it. I hope that makes sense. But it almost cut through. I can tell here, you know, might be able to break it away with an X-Acto knife, but again, it just did not come through all the way. But the logo, again, done phenomenal there on the wood, and you can feel it. There's some actual depth there in it. I don't know if it's coming through on there with the depth that it shows and everything, but really, really cool. Those were the 5, was going to be 6 tests, but those were the 5 tests we done in today's video, and I hope in some way it piqued your guys' interest to maybe go out and start looking at laser engravers. I would highly recommend this Acmer S2 laser engraver. It's new on the market, very easy to put together and very easy to get up and running if you are unfamiliar with laser engraving. Keep in mind I use the Lightburn software, but there is other laser engraver programs and softwares out there, and some of them are free. I just prefer the Lightburn software. Here is the manual again, the Acmer S2 7-watt diode laser engraver, and I want to thank Acmer once again from the bottom of my heart for trusting me with the reviews. This is the second Acmer laser we have reviewed. Remember, we done the original one, the little Acmer 6-watt desktop laser that's back here on the workbench, and now we have done the bigger 7-watt laser. And keep in mind, Acmer offers a variety of laser engravers, both small and big, and even bigger wattages and more robust lasers. I'll leave a link to their social medias and contacts down in the description box below, so you guys can go and hopefully browse their projects, and hopefully if you don't have a laser out in your garage or workshop, pick up a laser for yourself. I know as time goes on, laser engravers are becoming more and more affordable for weekend and hobby woodworkers who may only be able to have a few hours each and every weekend out in their garage or workshops, and I feel like they are a very powerful and versatile tool. I know when the very first laser came out in the workshop, with me being a scroll saw woodworking artist, I only used it to sign the back of beautiful scroll saw work, you know, put my name, a quote, to, from, my logo on the back of stuff, to sign stuff in a more professional manner. But then I quickly, when my buddy Sam at Knighthood Creations showed me how to properly use the Lightburn software, I was off to the races, producing a lot of hopefully beautiful and creative laser projects and also project videos over here on the platform if you guys would like to go back and view them. But thank you, Acmer, once again for trusting me with this review for the 7-watt laser engraver. Thank you guys so much for trusting me with it. That's going to be about all for this one. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.